So for the last 15 years of my life, I've primarily been working in corporate training and development. I transitioned to that from teaching at the college level, and even for some years when I first began working as what you call an instructional designer, I was also teaching at the college level part-time at night. Prior to that, I spent almost 20 years teaching at the college level, teaching English, literature, composition, and occasionally film studies, particularly when I was teaching full-time at Howard Payne University in Brownwood, Texas. But as far as my interest in writing and in film, that goes way back. It goes back to when I was in elementary school and I first developed a love for narratives, for storytelling. And then there were three particular works that really got me interested in trying to tell my own stories. And that was, first of all, The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. Secondly, Star Wars. So I found both of those stories very fascinating. The whole aspect of creating another world and envisioning another world and all the fantastical elements involved. And then The Lord of the Rings, reading The Lord of the Rings, which I believe was around middle school. And so my love for these stories really, it got me interested in telling my own stories, like I said. And so I decided I would like to write stories. And over the years, I eventually wrote my own trilogy. Looking back on that later, I realized it was kind of crappy, you know? It was what a middle schooler would write. But the experience of writing taught me to write. And at the same time then, as I get into high school, I became more and more interested in film. And then I decided maybe I would like to combine the two. And then eventually that turned into an interest in filmmaking, maybe production, editing, because editing is a way of telling a story, directing, that sort of thing. So that's how my interest in writing and in filmmaking got started. So when I was looking at colleges, I was accepted into USC, but I'm not going to go into all the details of why, but that ended up not happening primarily because of concerns of my parents of being able to afford it and all on me going to California. So I ended up going instead to Howard Payne University in Brownwood, Texas, which did not have a robust film program, but they did have a radio, TV, film department. What happened with the radio, TV, film production is I took all your standard classes in TV production, radio production, audio production, and writing classes for film. And some of the classes that we did in production were geared towards film production and film editing, but not with film. We didn't actually work with film, so we worked with video, but shot in film style. Through those years as a radio, TV, film major, I wrote numerous scripts, and I even produced my own project that was feature-length, that was outside of a class assignment, and I got a crew for it. We had auditions come. So I put together that project. It never really was finalized, but it was a learning experience for me. Hey, who are you? What are you doing in here? Hey, come back here. At the end of my career as a grad student, I graduated with a MA, and I thought, okay, what am I gonna do with this? I still, in my heart of hearts, really was interested in filmmaking, and I thought, well, maybe someday I can go back to grad school again and get a graduate degree in film production. But that never really happened. What happened instead is that I returned to Howard Payne, where I had gotten my bachelor's degree, and became an instructor there. Unfortunately, for quite some time, I got away from the writing. I had actually started a book in grad school that was going to be a revamping of my old trilogy that I wrote in middle school. So I started that. I got about 500 pages into it, and then it got put on the back burner for years and years and years. Yet all this time, there has been this desire and this need to get back to where I really started, and that was writing, telling stories. Another thing that I did do that I have gotten away from recently was starting back in 2003. So I'm going back quite a ways now. That's 22 years now. I just didn't want to let go of the idea of filmmaking. So I decided maybe I can invest a little money, maybe go into a little debt, get a couple decent cameras, and eventually create some sort of indie film, not on film. But in order to fund that, I decided to start doing wedding videography. So for about 12 years, I was a wedding videographer. And so I went to people's weddings. I shot with 2 cameras, shot the wedding, shot the reception, and then in turn created a story. In fact, that's how I marketed it. I'm not just doing your wedding video, I'm doing the story of your wedding. And I'm doing the story of the reception. So that sort of whetted my appetite for a little while, but not quite, because it wasn't really what I wanted to do. But it became so much a part of my life, and I got so dependent on it, that I was literally doing so many weddings that I sort of became overwhelmed, and at one point just decided I can't do this anymore. So as I said earlier, I really put my big project on the back burner. My idea of taking that story that I started a long time ago and rewriting it. And eventually I just decided in recent years, just because of a culmination of things, so many things going on in my life, personally, professionally, I finally said I have to do something. And so I started to develop this storyline that in pieces was kind of pulled from bits and pieces of my life, yet the overall narrative is not my life at all. So that's what I've been working on, and it's now been a couple years. So I've made a lot of progress. I've had a few other people kind of act as beta readers to sort of read what I've done so far. I've gotten really good feedback. So I am very optimistic at this point that maybe I can finally get something published. And I'm not really looking to be like a successful, well-known writer or anything like that. I just want to get my stories out there. I want it to be out there so maybe somebody will read it and connect with it and identify with it. The most important lesson I learned through all my experiences was do not give up. No matter what comes along, no matter what happens in your life, don't let anything stand in the way of you pursuing your dream. That's what I sort of learned, was I didn't really give up, but I put my dreams on the back burner. And instead of doing that, pursue the dream. If you don't do that, you're going to live your life wanting to do it and to go back to it. So that's the most important thing, is just don't give up, but dedicate yourself to being the best that you can be.